Joining us now with more on this case, Eric Faddis, a criminal defense attorney and former felony prosecutor. Eric, thanks for being with us. You just heard Brian Claypool say these are not easy charges to prove. Do you agree?
I think that's very true. What we're looking at is a RICO charge. So that's a law that was originated to really prosecute mafioso types. It alleges a number of predicate offenses, which are like the underlying crimes supporting the RICO that span decades. On top of that, the sex trafficking charges proving that these individuals were coerced, that did this against their will. The jury has to get into the mind of those folks, and that is never an easy task. On top of that, as you mentioned, the victim, number three, has since been unavailable. And so there are a number of roadblocks for the prosecution in the case.
Yeah, the fact that one of the victims, who was apparently set to testify for the prosecution, now cannot be located, that doesn't bode well for prosecuting this case, it would seem.
Oh, certainly problematic. You know, as a former prosecutor, you kind of have all your ducks in a row. You know which witnesses are going to testify, when they're going to testify. You want them to build upon one another. And then when a wrench is thrown into the works like this of a victim not being available, that can cause the prosecution team to really have to re-strategize and reformulate their entire approach to the trial. Also, there's an absence of evidence with that victim not coming forward. Perhaps other charges depended on that victim's testimony or built upon them.
Well, let's talk about the jury selection process too. If the judge seems concerned that jurors might back out because of the pressures of this trial, that could have an effect, or at least it could leave an effect on those jurors who remain on the jury. Maybe they say to themselves, maybe they say to themselves, you know, if I vote to convict this guy, I could have trouble in my peer group, or I could get, mugged or whatever. What do you think about that possibility?
John, that's a concern in any trial. And here we're talking about this high-profile, controversial trial with a person who has been kind of cast as a supervillain, Diddy. He has all the resources in the world, or at least did. And then there are concerns from the beginning of the case that he was tampering with and intimidating witnesses. So a very real concern in any juror's mind might be, based on my decision, am I putting myself at risk? That's a problem.
There are, a lot of, I guess, similar possible cases out there. I mean, if P. Diddy can get charged with this kind of thing, would you expect to see the Justice Department or local prosecutors going after other high-profile individuals?
John, it wouldn't surprise me. We already have the trial against Harvey Weinstein. I think there are a lot of parallels there. Rich and powerful individual in the entertainment industry allegedly coercing people to engage in sexual acts with them. And then on top of that, during jury selection, they named some pretty high-profile celebrities who could either be witnesses or at least referenced in the case if those folks, it turns out from the evidence, are associated with some wrongdoing. Perhaps the Justice Department could go after them based on what the witnesses say and allege in court.
Maybe it's putting the cart before the horse, but let's just say he gets convicted. He's facing, I guess, a minimum of 15 years, but perhaps life. Does the jury's decision in this court have, does the jury have any say, or is it entirely up to the judge? And what does the judge do with a famous guy like P. Diddy?
Yeah, John, the stakes could not be higher in a case like this. And so the jury, their primary responsibility is to determine guilt or innocence with respect to the 5 federal offenses with which Diddy is charged. After that, if there is a guilty conviction, then the ball is in the judge's court. And the judge gets to decide, based on a number of factors, based on guidelines, based on some statutory minimums, how much prison time Diddy would be facing. He's not the youngest guy in the world. And so any way you look at it, he's looking at a possible life sentence.
Wow. What a story. Eric Faddis, thank you for joining us.
Good to be with you.